In this video, we'll be taking a look at the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus and answering the question of whether they're still usable in modern times, years after they were released in 2014. The iPhone I have here is an iPhone 6, which I personally used for 3 years, but most of what I say about it also applies to the iPhone 6 Plus. This video will be categorized into the following parts, which focus mainly on the important aspects in the use of an older phone such as the iPhone 6, history and specifications, operating system, updates and app compatibility, performance, battery, availability and pricing, and finally an overall conclusion. Firstly, don't forget to hit that like button and check out my channel. Alright, let's jump right in. Firstly, let's discuss some history. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were released on September of 2014 as Apple's new redesigned flagships. They were the first iPhones to join the bigger screen competitors to satisfy a growing market for larger screen phones. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, to this day, are the second most sold phones in history after the Nokia 1100 and the most sold smartphones ever made at 220 million units. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus featured an all-new aluminum construction and design which some phones even today still resemble. As for displays, they featured LCD panels, a 4.7-inch 750 by 1334 in the iPhone 6, and a 5.5-inch 1080p display in the iPhone 6 Plus. They both shipped with 1GB of RAM and were available in 16, 64, and 120 gigs of storage. Apple's 1.4 GHz A8 dual-core processor was the main processing chip on the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. They featured an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p 60fps and 720p 240fps slow-motion recording and a dual LED flash. Their front-facing cameras were 1.2 megapixels. A fingerprint sensor was also built into the home button for Touch ID, and they were charged using a lightning port and featured no wireless charging capabilities. The iPhone 6 had a 1810 mAh lithium polymer battery and the 6 Plus had a 2915 mAh battery. As for operating system, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus shipped with iOS 8 and were given their final update to iOS 12.4.4. This update is still relevant at the time of this video as all apps on the App Store still work with it. All major apps such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. work just fine and will be supported for around another 2 to 3 years from 2020 onwards. App load times are not extremely fast as you'd expect, but they're more than usable and don't crash or freeze. Most of the games on the App Store still run just fine as of 2020, and the 6 and 6 Plus are not in any serious functional struggle to keep up. Where the phones do fall short is with the Apple Watch compatibility, where all Apple Watches updated to watchOS 6 will not be able to pair up with an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus. The only Apple Watch that will still work with them is the original Series 0 as it cannot be updated to watchOS 6. This is due to the fact that watchOS 6 requires iOS 13. Let us now discuss performance. In day-to-day tasks, the Apple A8 chip still holds its own against new app updates and tasks. The RAM, despite being only 1GB, is still able to keep most apps running in the background and provide good multitasking. Load times are not painfully slow but are still on the slower side when compared to modern iPhones. I personally have 3 friends who still use iPhone 6s and have not expressed any displeasure with the phones when questioned about them. The LCD panels still look good and provide solid colors and quality even at this age. Back in 2014, the LCDs on the 6 and 6 Plus were tested by a display technology company called DisplayMate and were found to be the best LCD panels on any phone of their time. Let's now look at some samples from the 8-megapixel shooter on the iPhone 6. These are also the same for the 6 Plus, however the 6 Plus had optical image stabilization and the 6 did not. Here are some stills during the day, and some stills during the night. And here's some video at 1080p during the day. The fingerprint scanner is decently fast and does the job quite well. Buying older used smartphones always come with a major disadvantage, which is battery performance. As batteries age, they lose their ability to charge to full capacity relative to when they were new. This causes performance issues and could lead to shutdowns if the battery can no longer provide adequate power. Apple also built in a software to slow down older iPhones in order to prevent unexpected shutdowns due to a weak battery. The one I have here has 85% of its original battery capacity and has suffered crashes at the end of its service right before I switched to an iPhone X. I was able to get through about 3/4 of a day with this phone with light use, but with heavier use it would not last that long. However, battery replacements are cheap and can be done by repair shops or by oneself by getting replacement batteries off companies like iFixit or just off eBay, as Apple does not outsource replacement parts. Used iPhone 6s and 6 Pluses could be bought from around $50 to $120, depending on storage options. There are plenty of them to go around. As I mentioned earlier, Apple sold 220 million of them. Better deals could be had at auctions, and iPhones with boot loop issues are much cheaper and easy to fix. However, always avoid iCloud lock phones, as they are probably stolen or lost phones and are impossible to use without the original user's account info. Finally, I'd like to conclude with saying that the iPhone 6 is a perfectly good phone to purchase in 2020, provided you get a good deal, and if you're on an extremely tight budget but still want an iPhone. These phones are well built and reliable, with good overall performance, camera quality, repairability, and price. However, if one is able to throw in an extra $50 to $100, iPhone 6s's and iPhone 7s could be purchased used, and are much better phones that run iOS 13. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this video helped you with your purchasing decision. Please consider checking out my channel. I do a variety of tech related videos such as this, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.